Most entrepreneurs start strong, but they get stuck when doing the same thing they did 10 years ago.
Bill Blum from Alpine Business Solutions has stayed ahead of every business and tech shift for over 4 decades.
Today, we're breaking down how he has done it and how you can too.
Bill, you've reinvented yourself and your business multiple times. What were the indicators that it was time to pivot?
Well, the one thing I would tell anybody who's listening is there's 3 things you have to listen to. You have to listen to your brain, so you have to make some analytical decisions, and you have to listen to your heart, something that feels right to you. It's got to feel right. It's got to be analyzed, and it's got to be right, technically. But at the end of the day, it's your gut. It's my gut that's always given me my direction. If it's something that I love to do, which is my heart, and I can see a path forward, technically, even though I can't see over the horizon, I can sense that there's something out there that I want to go after. And then I listen to my gut. And if my gut says go for it, and my heart says go, and my head says go, I'm all in. But if any one of those is a little off, I start to say, wait a minute, maybe I should rethink this. And until those 3 are really in alignment, something I really love to do, my heart, I can pour my heart and soul into it. And I can also see kind of over the horizon where it's going. And then finally, when it feels right here in the gut, because we learned about our bodies basically through a lot of the AI that we're able to use in medicine now. All 3 of those are deeply connected in a way. So whenever there's a disconnect there, I immediately kind of say, well, wait a minute, let me kind of rethink this position, maybe adjust it a little bit until those alignments are there. And once they're there, then I pull all my energy together and pray to God and just head on out.
Bill, something that comes to mind with what you're saying is fear. Why do you think so many entrepreneurs resist change? And what would you tell them so they stop that fear?
That's a great question, because fear, I believe, is the biggest thing that holds people back from what they can accomplish. And that's a mental thing entirely. Babe Ruth said one time, never let the fear of striking out get in your way of hitting a home run. Because as soon as that fear comes in, you get debilitated. But how do you get over that, and why do you have the fear? Fear of the unknown is really, that's the change that people fear, is change, because they don't know what's on the other side of change. And like I said before, once you have all that aligned and you can kind of see over the horizon that there's something there and you feel it there, then you can go after it with that still not knowing what's going to happen and give in to the uncertainty. Fear of change, I think, it comes from a fear of the unknown. And that's one of the most debilitating things. Every time I start fearing something, I say to myself, what am I really fearing here? What's the worst that can possibly happen in this situation? So when I go to make a decision on something, I always go into it, a negotiation or whatever, in business or even with people or situations, and I begin to feel that fear, which is very natural, as you said. I mean, a lot of entrepreneurs, we all feel it. It's a human emotion, and it's grounded in very good things. You should fear things that are dangerous, but most things are not dangerous. So when I get to a situation where I begin fearing something, I then intellectually say, well, what's the worst thing that can happen here? And in negotiations, when I do negotiations, I go in and I say, okay, this is what I want to get out of it, and this is what I don't want to get out of it, and what is the worst that could happen? And then I go for it. And I find that the worst really never ever happens. And one thing I realized, and this, somebody taught me this, a mentor taught me this a while ago, think of the things that you were afraid of doing a year ago that stopped you from doing something. And you can't even remember what was weighing on your mind a year ago, because it usually is not that important. And you have to kind of talk yourself through it. That's what I do.
Yeah, that's a lot of mindset, a lot of self-talk, right?
Oh, I talk to myself all day long. I've got all kinds of conversations going on.
In talking with entrepreneurs, something that I also hear when it comes to pivoting and changing, they'll say things like, hey man, it's like, I hear you got to be consistent. So how can I be consistent and then change? I don't understand. How can I do both?
That's a great question too, because you don't want to lose what you have. And if you worked really hard at getting something, you want to hold on to that. But you also want to grow and change. And that only comes through changing and going into that sort of unknown and putting yourself out there. But you never want to lose that base. When I was playing music, I worked in a very high-end restaurant in New York. And the bathroom attendant there, Boots, he was a great, great guy. I got to know him pretty well. A very wise man. And by the way, he won the lottery in one year. And he walked in, bought everybody a drink, and retired. He Boots, God rest his soul, man. He said to me one time, he said, I know what you're doing. I was in the music business at the time, and I was gigging around New York with a band, and I was trying to make it. And he said, Billy boy, I know what's going on with you. You got your eye on the prize over there. This was a steady gig at this high-end restaurant. He says, let me tell you something, though. And I keep it with me to this day. He said, Billy, let me tell you, ask for what you want, take what you can get, but hold on to what you got until you get what you want. And that, to me, is some of the best advice I've ever had, because you want to hold on to the thing you've built consistently, but you know that the universe is all about change. And there's change every day in the economy, in business, especially today in markets, especially with this AI thing that we're in. Change is going to be dramatic over the next 5 years. We've already seen it in so many ways. So holding on to what you got and what you've built is that consistency. You want to hold on to that. Like in my business, I built a business of managed service business. So we take care of technology for small and medium businesses. And we take care of it by protecting the business with cybersecurity. We do it with performance. We make sure everything's working well. So we have peak performance, peak protection, and now we have peak intelligence, which is the new AI strategy that we have for small and medium businesses. So as I started doing this peak intelligence with AI for my clients, small and medium businesses, and internally my business, the one thing I consistently said that I wanted to do, I don't want to lose what we built here in the peak protection and peak performance. That business is running really well, but I'm able, because I've built a great team, to then take some of my time and put it into the next thing. Yeah. So you always hold on to what you got, take what you can get, ask for what you want, but hold on to what you got until you get what you want.
Yeah. Bill, you just mentioned something very important, and I think it has a lot of value to our listeners, is that you have built a great team in your company, team members that have been in your company for over 30 years. So how do you do it? How do you keep people for that many years in today's world?
That's a great question. And I have a knack, I think, of finding good people and working with them and empowering them. I'm just incredibly invested in their own personal and professional development. I also pray a lot for the people to get the right people. It's a prayer every day. I have, God, please send me good people and good clients. That's every day I say that mantra. But once I get those people, the first conversation I had with my wife, I'll never forget it, in a restaurant. We just met on a blind date, and she managed a huge team of salespeople around the world in the pharmaceutical industry. I always said, you can take 3 or 4 zeros, add it onto my revenue, and that's what you're responsible for in that world. So she had a large group of people that she worked with, and we spent the entire lunch just talking about how the biggest joy, I think, out of my business, I've built a great business, great clients, great lifestyle for myself and my family. But the real joy I get is from seeing the people around me grow and develop into whatever they can be. And that, to me, is probably the most benefit I've gotten out of the business, is to see these people grow and develop. And it's not easy. I work very hard with them. I have great mentors. I have leadership development coaches over the years who've helped me to be the best person I can be, so I can be that best person for them. Yeah. So it's really not about me. It's about what these people are and what they can be. And again, it's not that I've turned them into something great. I'm able to help them understand their strengths and things that they didn't even know some of them had. my salesperson, Ben, great guy, Jason, Steve, the whole crew. They've gotten to understand their potential just by me sort of like working with them and helping them to see that.
When it comes to hiring, what will you say are the most common mistakes small business owners make when they hire?
That's a great question. Again, what are the biggest mistakes they make? I would think the biggest mistakes they make are they have a confirmation bias and they look for people who are a lot like them. And a lot of teams that I've seen fail because they don't have a range of people and personalities and cultures and the way people look at different problems in different ways. And a lot of people like to be with people who are like themselves. I tend to think I like to be around people who are not like me in a lot of ways. I heard this gentleman, Jay Shetty, last week, and he talked about innovation and people who are the most successful in innovative businesses. And he said that the people who are the most successful have really direct relationships with people of all different kinds, from all different walks of life, all different disciplines, all different backgrounds and whatever. And to be able to have that diversity, all of that input is what feeds some of the most successful and creative people. Going all the way back to Henry Ford and Thomas Edison, you want to talk about some incredible people. They surround themselves with people who are not exactly like them. And it's difficult sometimes because you don't agree with them, you don't understand them, they don't understand you. But I think by working through all those differences, you can create a really powerful team. And it has nothing to do with technical ability. Some of the greatest sports teams in the world, some of the greatest bands in the world that I've known, musicians I've played with in bands, are of varying levels of talent. And some of the best musicians, the best teams in sports are not always the greatest star athletes. You're able to put together people with different skills and talents and bring them together. And a lot of times people hire on their technical abilities, and that's okay in certain areas. They have to have a baseline, but understanding the person and the values that they have and making sure that their values align with yours is really, and the mistakes I've made is that I've opted to buy into people and to hire people who are incredibly talented, but they didn't have the same values that I had. They were great technically, but they didn't last because there wasn't that sort of common element of humanity and the values that we share. Even though they were incredible technicians and whatever, they've moved on.
I know that thing that you just mentioned, your core values, we know that you live them very loudly every day. But how do you handle it when someone in your company doesn't live out those core values?
That's great. The mentor that I have, Ed Dolan, great guy. I've known him for many years now. And just like Steve Reed, I've known him, my PR, my marketing person. These mentors have come into my life and have helped me to see my rough edges and smooth them out and whatever. What we did was Ed forced me to sit down and come up with 4 core values and a purpose for the business. Mm. Now, I didn't go in my room and come up with this. I sat at a table with all 15 or 20 people that worked for me at the time. I said, this is what we're going to do. We're going to think about this very deeply, all of us, and we're going to combine our views on what the best values are and the purpose should be, and we'll bring those together. I'll make the final decisions, but we filled up pages of different things, and there's a lot of great values, obviously. So we have the 4 key values, which is core values, which is respect everyone, always tell the truth, keep everything better than you found it, and keep your commitments. And our purpose in life, even though we're a technology company now deeply embedded in the AI world, is to improve the quality of life for our clients, our fellow teammates, and our communities. And there's no me in any of that. Because if you do all that, just as I know you've said, Paul, and you've said, you're going to be okay. By helping others and by improving the quality of their life, your life is going to be fine. And I'm a perfect example of that, right? I never went into business to make a boatload of money. I went into business originally because I saw what technology could do for the quality of life of people working in an office. They no longer had to type things in. It all came out of a computer on a printer. They were able to be more productive. They enjoyed the work better than the kind of drudgery of doing the same thing over and over again. And every time we put those values in place, every time somebody does something outside of those core values, including me, trust me, I'm human, I understand, I've got a lot of rough edges. What we do is we sit down and we say, listen, did you really, in that action, show one of these core values, or did you really fail? And they have to say, yep, I failed. They take responsibility, and then we move on. If somebody does something wrong like that, we have a 5-step process. Something goes wrong. What happened? Fix it immediately. Don't even think about what happened or why it happened. Fix the problem now. A good friend of mine, John Irwin, who was in the Air Force, he was traveling over Russia taking pictures in the 70s with this tricked out plane and everything. It was a long mission, 36 hours or whatever, and they slept on the way back. And the plane, all of a sudden, alarms are going off. There's 4 guys in this big plane, and it's like alarms are going off, and they're heading for the center of the earth at 700 miles an hour. And he said, I learned something in that moment, that there's no time to put blame on anything now. Fix the plane, get it steady, then we'll figure out what happened. So when something goes wrong, fix it immediately. Then figure out what happened, who's responsible for it. And in my life, I found never 100 and 0. I've always had culpability in everything that went wrong in my life. And you own up to that, you take the responsibility, and then you leave it off to the side. That's done, you're finished, forgiveness, done. The person takes responsibility, you forgive them, and then you move into why did it happen and how can we fix it so it'll never happen again. So that's our 5-step process. What happened? Fix it. Who's responsible? Why did it happen? And then fix it so it'll never happen again.
Bill, I want to go back to what you were saying about AI, because I believe that there are many people out there who fear AI. It's really a taboo for them. From your experience, those fears that people have, is it really, are they going to replace humans, or is there an opportunity here?
That's a great question. It's a huge opportunity. They will replace many jobs. They've already done that. But every technology on the planet has done that. Every single one. When the looms came out in the 1800s, and a loom is something where they mechanically made fabric and rugs and everything by a machine. And in the past, before that, they had people who took threads and wove them together, as they do in many cultures today. They make beautiful things, but they took that manufacturing process away from people and turned it into a crank, into a machine. And the people back in the day then were called Luddites. They followed a certain person who created a movement and completely destroyed those. They killed people. They burned down the factories that had these things in the 1800s in England. And because they resisted the change that was coming with the machine. And they were very violent. But 50 years later, every factory in England that made fabrics was using a loom. When the car came out, buggy whip manufacturers, they could scream and cry and whatever, the automobile took over. So the dumbest thing anybody can do is fight the tide of history. And when it's staring you in the face like AI is right now, and the great thing about AI is that it's available to everybody. If you have a $50 smartphone, an internet connection, you have access to some of the most incredible cognitive abilities that we've ever seen on the planet. So that's an opportunity for everybody to get better at things. Will it replace some jobs? Yeah, there's going to be job displacement. There already is. But the incredible things that this technology is capable of are the things I choose to focus on. And based on the fact that change is inevitable, it's time to get on this bandwagon. And the fact that it's available to everybody and so easy to use, introduced it to and said, you got to start using it on your smartphone. Ask it questions, talk to it, get used to interfacing with it. They've all come back to me and said, oh my God, this is just mind-blowing, life-changing in some ways, people have said. So I see it as a huge opportunity. And yes, there's a fear that some jobs are going to be It's already displacing some jobs. But if you get in and you have a curiosity and a thirst for knowledge and you embrace change and you embrace new technology and you have energy around that and a discipline to use it and understand it, that's going to take you through this turbulent time that we have with AI right now. And that's just not me talking. I mean, there's people much smarter than me. That's what they're saying. Gentlemen from business school, and you've got Eric Schmidt, who ran Google for years, Dr. Henry Kissinger, who passed away recently, wrote 2 books on it. This is something that everybody should address and begin to understand. I feel it deeply because it's actually improved the quality of my business dramatically by giving the people the tools. That's what we're doing with our peak intelligence plan for small and medium businesses, which every business can do. You need a leader who sits at the top, who uses the technology. The leader has to use the technology. Like back in the day when email was new, I would say to some of my clients, you use an email. Oh yeah, I do email every day. My secretary prints it out and I write on the page and I give it to her. You're not really doing email, okay? The same with this. Use the tools that are available to you and then give them to your people and buy the tools. And they're not that expensive. You know, some licenses you got to buy and you got to put some guardrails around what they're doing and help them to understand what they shouldn't be doing. But teach them, give them the resources and the tools to do it and have them begin to experiment with it. We found internally and with some of my clients that the more you do that, you get a highly engaged workforce because a lot of young people are already using this. In fact, there's a study that just came out. 75% of employees are using AI in their work. Most of them don't have any direction from the company. And some of them are actually paying for those tools because it gives them the ability to do their job better. Okay. And they're using these rogue AI tools. So why don't business leaders put some kind of process around this, put the resources together, give them the time, because all the time they spend experimenting with it, they're going to save so much more time. They're going to be so much more productive. My team has been more productive than they've ever been because I've given them the tools, I've given them the freedom, and then unleashed them. It's the creativity of the frontline employees and the people who are working for these companies that is the real engine of growth of the company. So why not give them the greatest tool for productivity, which is these AI tools, Copilot and Gemini and Perplexity and Grok and Claude. These are all easily accessible to anybody. And I believe everybody should be using them. And leaders in business need to be the ones who give that to their employees.
And Bill, you have a lot of experience, as we can tell, hearing you saying all this. And I'm sure you've seen every tech wave. What do you think separates the business owners that grow with it and the ones that fell behind?
Well, they don't take the time, and it's a discipline to take the time to reflect and sit back and say, okay, where am I at? Where did I come from? And where am I going to go? And that's, you have to get deep inside of yourself, and you need to give yourself that space. So many business owners today, and myself included from time to time, many times I've been this way, is that I'm so embedded in the business that you don't want to lose what you have. So you're so invested in the day-to-day. Business owners need to take the time to reflect on where they're at, where they came from, and more importantly, where they want to go. A really bright man many years ago sat me down one day, and this is a really interesting business story. I think you'll appreciate this, the both of you. He came to me, he had a consulting company, now high end. In fact, the way I found my wife was through his consulting company, which is a weird thing. He consulted with large pharmaceutical companies and whatever, and he had an office in Somerville, New Jersey, and he needed some IT tech work. And I needed some leadership training for me and my staff. And he sat me down one day in my office. We talked for a couple hours. He said, you know what? I have what you need and you have what I need. So why don't the two of us, I'll do leadership training for you and your team, and you go in and you take care of the technology for mine. And he said, I'll never ask you for money and you never ask me for money. But this is an incredible concept that I carry with me today. He said, listen, every relationship is in a constant state of inequity. That means that whether it's a personal relationship or what, You're either giving a little more than you're getting at this moment, or you're getting more than you're giving at this moment. That's the way the world works. It's never in its perfect state of equity. And I'm going to give to you, and you're going to give to me. And I promise you, if I feel a state of inequity where I feel like I'm giving more than I'm getting, or you feel you're giving more than you're getting, I promise you, I will come back to you and say, listen, this is not working. And if you feel the same way, you come back to me, and we'll never ask each other for money. We worked for each other probably for 6 months or a year, setting up his office. He did leadership training, and then we kind of lost touch with each other. I carry that to this day. But what he said to me as a business leader was, he said, you have to understand you're working in the business, but your people don't have the vision you have, and you're not expecting that of them. That's not something that you hired them for. You're the visionary. You're the person who needs to see over the horizon. So you need to climb up on that mast, on that ship, and you need to look over the horizon. So is that darkness over there? Is there a storm over here? Is there clear water over here? Is there enemies over here? You get up there where nobody else can see at that level, and you begin to make decisions based on that. And basically, it looks right and it feels right, and in your gut, you know it's right. That's where you're going to steer the ship to. And I think many business owners don't take the time to think about that strategy of really giving themselves the freedom and the space to let these inputs come in at a very high level. And that's how I've kind of navigated the change in the technology world. Is I read a lot about what everybody's saying. I get a lot of inputs, and then I make a decision. If it's right in my head and my heart and my gut, we move in that direction. And I've been wrong a lot of times. Don't get me wrong. I've failed my way to success. Anybody who's successful will tell you the same thing. I'm sure the both of you have had the exact same experience. And those of you who are running businesses, you feel like you're failing and failing and failing. But the thing of it is, every time you fail, you've figured out something that's not working. And that's what Thomas Edison said when they said to him, how did you get to the light bulb? It must have been very frustrating. He goes, no, every single filament I used, I knew that that wasn't going to work. I was getting closer to the one that will work. So the fact of the matter is, you have to really kind of think out of the box and give yourself the freedom to do that. And many business owners don't. They're so wrapped up in the day-to-day. You've got to get out of that. And you need input from, mentors and people like you. You've got a career doing that. You help people in the industry that you're in. This is working with each other and working with people who are maybe smarter than you, some of them maybe not as smart as you, but they have experiences and whatever that you can learn from. You can learn from bring those inputs in, put it into your head, think about it deeply, pray about it. If it feels good here, and here, go for it. That's what I've done in changing technology. The problem in technology today is I was able to do that for many years. Today, we're in a world where it's victory by surprise. So there's deals that happen that all of a sudden, bam, these big companies change things immediately. And you have less of a visibility of seeing what everybody's doing, which means you have to be more keen on the signals that are out there that are coming.
Something that I really like about what you've shared so far, and because you've repeated it multiple times, is not only being aware of what's happening around you, like reading the signs and looking for the potential dangers and potential opportunities, but you also talked a lot about reflecting. And I believe that many people don't do that today, because I hear people that tell me, I feel like in the last couple of years, I haven't had the time to think. I have people that tell me that.
Really?
And the reason they feel this way is because they're always doing something or watching something or listening to something, and they don't actually step aside to process everything that's going on, everything that's happening. So it really catches my attention, the fact that you've mentioned that multiple times and how that has helped you in your business. Bill, when it comes to AI, for a small business owner, what is one way they could start using AI today that will actually make a difference in their business?
Well, if all you have to do is begin using the tools and interact with it in the way that is most effective. And what I mean by that is, you have to understand this AI, this cognitive ability, is something that the world has never seen. It is beyond our imaginations. In fact, today, I mean, we have things in our hands now, these things here that were unheard of 20 years ago. When I think about what my mother grew up with, and I was talking to somebody the other day, their grandparent who just passed away didn't even have a car when they were young. They were still riding in buggies. So this stuff has advanced so rapidly. To begin first, you've got to understand what it is, okay? And Mustafa Suleyman, who runs Microsoft AI, he ran Google AI for years, incredible philosopher, thinker, technician, engineer, visionary. He said we have to think of this as a new digital species. I heard another smart man last week in an industry conference say, these LLMs, the AIs, which is the data and the algorithms behind AI, are like a puppy. And you have to train the puppy. And if you train the puppy right and you spend the time to do it, number one, you'll get to know the puppy better. The puppy will get to know you better. And if in fact you don't train it right, it could turn on you. But if you do train it right, you will get a lot out of it. And as Mustafa Suleyman said, it's a new digital species. So if you pick up one of these AIs and you begin talking to it and telling it that I want you to give me this information, I don't want you to give me all of the good information, I want you to challenge my thinking, you begin to work with it, talk with it, and then you ask it questions that are highly technical. If you use the right AIs, and I'm not talking about just anyone out there, you want to use the good ones. Gemini's a great one. Copilot's another one. Claude is another one. Perplexity, Grok from Elon Musk. These are all top-of-the-line LLMs, basic AIs that have intelligence in different ways because of the way they're trained. But if you begin really working with it back and forth, and you have the curiosity and the thirst for knowledge, and you want to embrace these technologies, you're going to find incredible things that you can do with it. So for instance, if you've got a Microsoft platform, you already have Copilot built into it. And in that Copilot, you also have ChatGPT, but now they've included Claude, which is the Anthropic model, which are very, very advanced models of AI. And you can ask it just about anything. I mean, in the past, I used to be able to, when you look for a new client, everybody's looking for new clients. And what you want to do is you research a prospect. You want to find out about them. Well, in the past, it would take hours to go through LinkedIn and this one and this search engine and that search engine, whatever. Right now, you can put it into one of these AIs and it'll give you incredible information. I mean, I first got to know you. I was really impressed, by the way, with the both of you have built here. 25,000 subscribers on YouTube and all of the dozens of podcasts you've done to help people and entrepreneurs. Kudos to you. But for me, I found that within seconds using an AI research tool. So you can use it for research. Now you have to make sure that it gives you the footnotes so it tells you where it got the information, because you always have to check its work. Because these AIs can hallucinate, they can go off on their own. They do have a mind of their own, actually, so you got to be careful. But it saves you so much time in researching information, not to mention analyzing spreadsheets, analyzing documents, creating work, cleaning up emails. One of the greatest things somebody told me last week is there's something called DISC analysis. I don't know if you ever heard of that, DISC, different personality types. If I'm a high D and I'm writing an email to an S, okay, I put the email together the way I want to, what I want to say, basically, what I want to communicate. But you tell the AI, I'm sending this to somebody who is a C or an S or a quiet person, whatever. Can you rephrase this for that? The AI has all of that knowledge of what those differences are that I don't have, that many people don't have, and it gives you these creative ideas. You just start using the tools and interact with it all day long, and you're going to find some amazing things. Now, having said that, you don't always want to think of this as a human being or whatever. It's like a different species in a sense. So it doesn't have emotion. It's not sentient. It doesn't have empathy, although it feigns empathy really well. Not any of those things. But what I would say to a business owner or an entrepreneur or somebody who's trying to figure this out, use the tools. Mm-hmm. It's like anything else. If you had to read a book to know how to use this smartphone or read a book to drive a car, you're never going to be able to drive a car. you got to get behind the wheel of the car. You got to get in there, get your hands dirty, spend the time, spend the effort, and use the tools. And you're going to find, everybody I've done that for has found amazing, amazing things.
Bill, you've worked with mentors, coaches, consultants along your career. Why do you think that sometimes business owners resist that or don't feel very confident in seeking help?
There's probably several reasons depending on the person, I would say, right? But talking from my own experience, I did not make myself vulnerable enough. I'm basically an introvert. I was most of my early years and even into my 20s and 30s. And I realized that didn't really work for me in a lot of ways. So I didn't want to get myself out there because I felt somewhat insecure. You don't really want to ask for help. People, they don't feel strong. You're not strong if you ask for help. Thank God we've changed a lot of that dialogue in mental health and some other elements and issues and whatever. That asking for help is actually a strength. And so I think a lot of business owners, entrepreneurs, these people are usually seriously driven people, sometimes with high egos in sense. So they don't want to ask for help. So that could be one reason. The other reason is you feel like you should be doing it on your own. We live in a society and a capitalist enterprise culture, which is great, don't get me wrong, but it's like, I'm going to make it on my own. I'm going to make it on my own. And sometimes you have to realize that the value of bringing people around you and getting their input and breaking through those mental barriers you have for asking for help is really something that holds you back from your full potential, because other people see in you things you don't even see in yourself, right? That's happened to me so many times. And I see things in people that they don't see in themselves. So as human beings, if we can get together and lose that kind of barrier, sharing with each other our strengths and our weaknesses, we're going to get a lot stronger. So I think a lot of business owners, I think a lot of people don't ask for help for a lot of reasons, because they're either insecure, they feel they have to do it on their own, and they have feelings that they shouldn't go out and ask for help. But anybody knows who's been very successful in business, they've had a team around them of people and mentors that bring that value to help them see in them what they couldn't see many times. And some of the greatest innovators have done that. I mean, Mark Zuckerberg went to Steve Jobs and said, Steve, I built this Facebook thing. What am I going to do next? And Steve mentored him and gave him some guidance as to what he should do. Now, if Mark said, like, I need Steve's help, I got this big Facebook company, what do I need this guy for? He would have lost the value of that input. It's our own heads that keep us here from really being all that we can be.
Bill, you said that human have to stay in the loop. What do you think that means for today to entrepreneurs?
Keep the human in the loop. We live in a technological world. We're grown up, many of us, the younger people especially, behind screens, isolated, work from home. I have a work from home company, and we are isolated from each other. And when you add AI to the mix of that, because of its cognitive abilities, seems like it's superior to us, and we somehow relinquish our humanity to the AI. One thing every AI expert, and there's quite a few of them that I listen to, say is that you always need to have the human in the loop. We need to bring our humanity to the situation. The things that the machines can't do that we can do really well. And there's a lot of those out there. I saw a great speaker, Wang, who's a researcher in the technology world. Brilliant, brilliant man. I had a conversation with him last week after a keynote he did. He said there's 4 different kinds of ways of looking at AI. And one is that there are some things we should never use technology for. And, the things we do as human beings, sharing our feelings, getting in touch with each other in the same space and time. You mentioned before that, you did a lot of these in the past virtually, but there's nothing like being in the same room. There is some mystical quality to that. And because we don't even understand 98% of the dark matter that's in the universe, God knows that there's a lot of gravitational pull around that. So that is only should be humans should be doing that. Then you should have tasks that AI can assist the human doing, like, how did I get here? Well, I took the most circuitous route from my house to get here on time. And it took me down all kinds of streets because Waze, the AI that I use, took me there. So it augmented my ability to get here. And there's other things that you want to give entirely to the AI, but you want to have a handle on that. You want to be able to look over it and make sure it's not going out of bounds, because this stuff goes way out of bounds. So keeping the human in the loop and maintaining our human connections. So another thing they found that AI does not do well is to take different ideas from here and different ideas from there and mash them together into something completely new and different, a creative thing. AIs are very not good at that. They're not good at taking this discipline and something learned here and applying it to this over here. And I'll give you an example. Velcro. We all know Velcro. Well, the gentleman who invented that, he invented that by going out in the woods. And Velcro is a hook and a loop. So there's hundreds, thousands of these hooks and loops. And they kind of like grab into each other in such a way that, it creates an incredibly strong bond from these tiny little loops together. And when he was walking in the woods, he noticed that he had all these things stuck to his sweater. And he realized that the needles were going into the loops of the thread, and it was really hard to get them out. So he said, wow, maybe I can take that concept into the material world that I live in. He's an engineer, materials engineer, and he created Velcro with all these tiny little loops. Now, AI, they tell me, is impossible to take that disparate sort of intellect and knowledge and apply it to something entirely different. Not to mention, the greatest inventions were always a mistake. They showed up one day in a lab and, wow, what is this? Oh, it's a new polymer or whatever. Now, AI is good at creating things almost out of nothing in a sense, but being able to take things from one discipline and apply it to another discipline using our brain is something they tell me that the AI is not good at. So the human always has the most creative power, I believe. And I think that's going to continue for a long time. And that's just not my opinion. A lot of the AI theorists think that as well.
Bill, I think our audience has gotten to know you and learned a ton from you. You share a value from your experience as a business owner, your knowledge of AI, and more. Perhaps they would like to get in touch with you. Perhaps there is something that you can help them with. Can you just share with everyone what are some of the things they can you off for if they need help?
Absolutely. Thank you. You can reach out to me. I'm on LinkedIn, Bill Blum on LinkedIn. My company is Alpine Business Systems, www.alpinebiz.com. So the best way to get in touch with me is on LinkedIn. Also, you can email me at bblum@alpinebiz.com. And I'd be happy to talk to anybody about this or anything else, and be happy to help you get better at what you're doing out there. Absolutely.
Bill, before we wrap up, if you would have to give one challenge to an entrepreneur that is listening to us right now, what would it be?
A challenge to the entrepreneur out there. I challenge you to, number one, be disciplined every day and get up and sit down before anything else happens and look at the sun, no matter where you are, and just sit there and understand that we live in the most incredible place in the universe that nowhere else in the entire, and we can see to the edge of the universe, nothing looks, feels, acts like this. That take into the account that we are so blessed to be here. And then I challenge them to then understand that and ask for guidance from God, whatever that great, massive intelligence out there, whatever you want to call it is, guide you through your day and your life. That's what I would challenge them to do every single day. And if you do that in a disciplined way, I think we're all going to be okay. And you're going to make my life better as well.
Bill, thank you so much for joining us in this episode. You've shared from your heart, you share from your mind, you share from your gut. You've shared so much. I believe for business owners, entrepreneurs, they watch this episode. This is like a playbook that they can follow. So thank you so much. Really appreciate you being here.
Thank you for the opportunity. And thank you for all the great work that both of you do with entrepreneurs and business owners. Wonderful work. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. And family, we invite you to please follow us in our social media, YouTube, Spotify, Apple Podcasts, to hear more stories from New Jersey business leaders that are shaping the future here in New Jersey.